And we are live. Oh, let's roll it back. All right. That should be a good level for the music. I'm raising it up for me so that I can hear the music as we hang out. I got the chat in front of me, I believe. Should be live. But it's an impromptu live stream. So if you're here hanging out and as people trickle in, this is exactly what we're doing today. Today I got a special request. It was just a couple of messages, and I'm gonna share that with you now. So I should be able to go to the next scene right here. Yep. So this is a shout out to user Yon971. Yon971 right here. If you can see it. Yep, he basically said, attention, not compatible with the SanDisk Extreme Pro 3800 USB 4. And I had never heard of that before, so I didn't know what that was. And I sent him a message. If you could send me the dimensions of that disk, I can make the adjustments. Let me know. And that's exactly what Jan did. And he's replying to me and saying 12.3 millimeters by 6.8 millimeters by 139.6 millimeters. Thank you so much for your time. So once again, shout out to Yon971 for the communication. And instead of me just doing this like I normally would today, instead of just doing it in silence, I'm doing it as a CAD with me. So we'll see exactly how this goes, and we're just gonna continue from there. So now we go back here. We do have this because I was looking at those dimensions and I was like, it's pretty big, right? Just compared to what I'm used to with the smaller SanDisks. So I did some research and this is what I came up with. So this is basically like the size of an iPhone, which would make a lot more sense for the dimensions that we're going to be dealing with in CAD today. So I just wanted to share that with you. All right, so we're going to be making an almost iPhone sized case for it. And you know what? Let me know if you think I should make one for iPhones. Do you guys use your SCADAS boards for your iPhones? If you do, we can CAD one out. That shouldn't take any time, and you'll see because I'm gonna be going through it right now. We're just a couple minutes in, and I'm gonna be trying to do this as quick as possible, as we listen to some music, hang out, and Sunday impromptu stream. All right, let's go to the next scene, which is this is the free CAD software. So now making sure that everything looks good. We got the big mouse cursor so you can follow along. Hopefully that makes it easier for you. All right, and we're gonna open up FreeCAD. Now, these are previous projects. This is like the Yellow Cam S3 step-up ring that I have here. But today we're gonna be remaking one of these Extreme Pro SanDisk holders. So now I have one that I just renamed, which is this is what we're looking at basically. I uploaded this file to MakerWorld, and this doesn't fit the iPhone size hard drive, so we're gonna make one for it. I'm just using this one here, which is the smaller Extreme Pro, as reference to the design and the way that I made it the same way. But what I did do was actually just write down some of those dimensions and kind of do some of the mathematics already. Oh, I'm all zoomed in. Man, I wish I could disable that. Can I? Let me check. Maybe I haven't even checked if I can or cannot. Because I speak with my hands a lot. I'm in the Ozbot Center software. What's up, Doc? I'm trying to get the Ozbot to stop zooming in. Because I'm speaking with my hands, so it's like zooming all the way in. You know, it's something that I haven't even tried to see if it's something that we could just shut off completely. Yep, there it is. So now if I do this, all right, turn that off so we're good to go. All right, now I can. Okay, that's good to know. But you know, I'm new to Mac. You know, like within the last 5 years, so I don't know all the terminal commands. But let's get into creating the new file for the CAD. So you know, on my CAD with me. First thing I'm gonna do is gonna go here to the bottom to the start, and this is normally what CAD will look like for you. Actually, I got my Stream Deck. That's if I'm editing. Today I need the keyboard. But this is the way that we're just gonna create a new part, right? Parametric part. And as soon as we click onto that, we're opened up to basically our canvas. So we have all of it open. The next step is that we're gonna create a sketch, and then it's gonna ask us which plane of the 3D, you know, world do we want to start with. So depending if you want to start like on its side, front facing, or at the bottom, I prefer the bottom. So that's exactly where I'm gonna start with this. I'm gonna select that, and now we come to the next step, which is where we can start sketching our design. Now I wrote down to show you, did some of the like pre-homework, right? I wrote down the numbers, and just to show you, we're gonna be recreating this but in a larger size. So you know, got this as the SCADAS board as a reference so that I can take measurements. I got my calipers, and we got everything that we need to rock and roll. But I did my homework ahead of time, and yeah, so the numbers that he gave us was 12.3, 68.8, and 139.6. Now, if those are the exact dimensions, then we're gonna need to put some oh, now it's AI tracking. Let's stop that as well. That one's not as bad as the zooming in, but I digress. Okay, so this is exactly what we're looking at. If those are the numbers, we need to give a little space for tolerances. So right away, I'm gonna kind of round up, and I usually round up by like by two hundredths, I would say, right? So basically, I will take a 12.3 millimeter and I will make it a 12.5. So that's the number that we're going to be dealing with. We're going to go 6.8 and we're going to add that 0.2. So that's going to be 69. In this case, I've made it even wider just to give us some extra leniency, and I'm going to 72. It's just because I want to leave 69 as the inner. So adding the extra size that I want for it, I'm going to jump that number to 72. And then, actually, let me write it down. And then it's 139.6 I'm just gonna round it up to 140, and instead of adding 0.2, I'm gonna add 0.4, and that's just the standard height. And then I'll be adding, well, we're gonna be building it together. Oh, I don't even know if you could see those numbers with this light. My bad, guys. We're doing it on the fly, so I'm learning to see exactly what works and what doesn't. But I have these numbers written down. Yeah, so let's get to it. Yep. All right. Let me go back to the other one. Let's stop the movement. Now my hands should be much better off. Hey, what's up, Gretchen? How are you? Saying hi. Watching while I'm rewiring my studio. Oh, okay. That's cool. Actually, let me bring these comments up. That's way up there. Let's change the size. All right. There we go. We can work with that. There we go. Very, very happy to be able to distract you. But you're helping me out as well, because this is, I think, what Doc was telling me to do, right? So we're getting it done. Instead of me just hopping onto the computer and doing it, we're doing it together, and I'm showing you the step by step. So now that we're here in CAD, let me go back to it myself. Okay. We're going to start with the base. Or the back of it. So I started with the flat plane, like in the 3D world, and I'm gonna build it long ways, building up, even though, well, actually, you know what, because I'm building it that way, I'm gonna switch it up. So I'm gonna start over again. I'm just gonna close this out, and we're not gonna save. Don't save, just to kind of, muscle memory this back out. All right, we're gonna take that. We're gonna open up a new one. We're gonna take the sketch, and instead of picking the base plane, like the floor, I would guess, I'm gonna pick the front facing, because of the way that I'm gonna be building out this design. So now we're in the same field, but like in that front facing. And this has to do with, I keep looking over here because this is where the comments are. So this, you guys say, says math. Yikes, the cables look easier now. Oh, Doc's heading out because the Raiders are on. Says math. Yikes, it makes it easier. It's been such a long time I haven't watched the NFL. I'd rather not get back into it, because I used to be one of those people who just dove into all the stats, and that consumes so much of my time. I really just don't have time for it anymore. All right. So now back to what I like to do. All right. Back to CAD. And like I said, we're shouting out Yon 971 for this request. So I'm gonna select my out of my tools. I'm gonna select where I could build a square. And what's this called? If I just hover over it, create a rectangle. Okay, and this is a datum point right in the center. So that datum point is where I'm gonna start everything off, and I'm gonna click there, and then I can build out a box basically in any direction. So this is kind of like below ground, and this is above ground, because that's our starting datum point. Here we go with the AI stuff. You know what? I think I turned it off as well. Okay. I think I just fixed the camera so it doesn't move anymore. Okay. Let me get something to drink. Oh, my microphone was low. Okay. Okay, back to CAD. Oh, I just hit back step so that I don't confuse anyone. Okay, start at a datum point. We click it, and we can go in any direction. But as soon as we go in the upward direction, what's going to happen is that we're going to see the millimeters, and this is where we can just put in the values that we want to just start with that base. So with the numbers that I was getting, I basically already just thought of the design. And if it's 140 millimeters, I wasn't gonna make something that was gonna cover the entirety of like the hard drive. So in the same style, the top part is accessible, so it doesn't cover the entirety. And they gave me the dimensions of their hard drive, which is 140. So we're gonna be leaving 40 millimeters off the top off. So the size is gonna be 100 millimeters up. And because we had gotten the value of 69 as the inner dimension, like I said, for the tolerances, what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be adding the 100 by the 72, and that's going to be the base of our sketch. All right, so the first number is across, so that's going to be 72. I'm going to type that in, and now we're going to go 100 millimeters up. All right, and now as you can see, it turned green because we have our like box done correctly, and green always means go. So now we can just close this section of it, right? And we're met into our like back into our canvas field, so to speak. And this is where I can just take this sketch, you know, change it around, you know, like rotate it, right? But if you look at this box right here, you could always kind of reorient yourself if you kind of get lost in the 3D sketch. But this is the front, right? And what we're going to do with the sketch is that we're going to add a pad to it. We're going to add some thickness to this sketch, which is right here in the modifying tools. So we're just going to hit pad, and right away, if I were to just move this, you can see it just got a lot thicker. So I'm going to hit cancel, right? Just to redo it, right? And as soon as I hit pad, boop, now it just became a 3D object, right? And it's telling me 10 millimeters, but that's way too thick for the design that I want, because this is the base and this is where everything's gonna get started. So from right here, I'm going to just hit the number 3 and change that to 3 millimeters, hit enter, and now I have a 3 millimeter pad in the dimensions that we had just set before, which was 100 by 72. So that's where we're at right here, and you can see we could already start moving this around, and this becomes like the beginning phases of this project. Hey, what's up, Jeremy? Saying sup, peeps. He says funny. He just started 3D printing a design he was working on. All right, that's cool, man. I'm gonna end up putting this camera over here. I thought this would just be easier because I had it here, right? But also give it a different style. So, hey, look who it is, my friend, Mr. How to Repair himself. You're catching a live stream that I'm actually doing. It's a little bit different than my normal ones, but we'll get to it. Today we're creating designs in 3D CAD. So let me get back to it, because I can have too much fun just reading comments and then we end up not being productive. Okay. Okay, so this is our base, and once again, the dimensions are 100 by 72 and a thickness of 3 millimeters in the pad. So now we have all of these faces, and you can see when I click my mouse over it, they all start highlighting because I have the ability to either like adjust them or sketch on them as well. So that's the next step that we're going to be doing, is sketching on it. So I'm going to click on this, and now that's highlighted, and the tools change once again, and now I can create another sketch just like I did at the beginning, but now I'm sketching on this 3 millimeter pad that we've already created. But the one thing that we have here, as soon as you can see, is that we only have one datum point, which is basically like an anchor point, which is the one where we started at, right? So anywhere else here, it's just basically like we're drawing in free air. So what we're going to do is that we need to create new restraints which allow us to use datum points within this 3D world, and that's done easily by just this tool right here, which is a constraint, right? Create external geometry tool, right? All right, so we click on it, and now we're able to take all of these series and highlight themselves, like highlight the edges, and you can see it just changes them out and creates new anchor points, new datum points. And we'll just go right around and we'll do all sides, because this gives us a lot more flexibility with the sketch that we're doing on this part. Okay, now that we're done with creating those anchor points, I know that I want a 3 millimeter, because just the same thickness that we created the pad, I want the walls to be that thickness, right? So I want, actually, let me make sure. This is when we sketch, what do we say? Measure twice, but cut once. Let me make sure my math is correct. So this is part of the process, right? Okay, so if I want 72 millimeters on the inside, oh, that's right. I messed up. I would have to draw that on the outside. Okay, so this is a really cool thing about CAD, right? Like, I messed up on the initial sketch. So of course we could just scrap this whole thing and start all over again, but because you have like the model and every step done in that manner, we can just kind of take a step backwards and just adjust those modifications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the task at hand right now, right? And this sketch that I really didn't do anything with, I'm gonna delete that, right? Make sure, boop, and now it's deleted, right? So now we're back to this, and this is where I initially messed up. Well, I can go and I can drop the arrow down here, and I can take a look at the sketch, right? Which is the original green little box, and I'm gonna double click it, and I'm right back into it. So 100 millimeters up is good. What's not good is the 72 millimeters across, because that's what I want. So if I want 72 millimeters across, you know what? Yeah. I said, you know what? Yeah, like if you guys could hear my thoughts. That was interesting. But okay. I'm gonna reduce it, because I was actually thinking 72 was adding onto the 69, but I had only added 3 millimeters. So I'm gonna take the 68.8, 69, and I'm gonna use that as 70. But because I need to build a 3 millimeter thick wall on each side, I need to add 6 more millimeters. So instead of 72, that number should have been 76. Okay, that's just so that all the tolerances and everything fit. So let's go ahead and do that. And how I do that is by literally just clicking that number again, right? And I was like, oh, I messed up. So I can just up arrow this to 76, hit OK. And you saw that it just got a bit wider. Perfect. And with that, now I can just hit close, and I don't have to redo the step of doing the pad for 3 millimeters. I can now just shut that off, and we're exactly the same step, right? Where I can just now click this here and create a sketch on that face, right? And we got the correct parameters. So I fixed my error. Just took a step backwards. Geometry tool, right? External geometry. We're going to go ahead and we're going to click all the sides. And now I'm going to add like the wall that I'm going to want to protrude as like the holding or the housing of this, hard drive holder. Let me see what you guys are saying. The mouse over here. Because I can read it over here, but you know what? I can read it over here as well. I got the pop-out chat from YouTube on this side. Yep, Jeremy's saying that I'm streaming at a time I can watch. Oh, that's why I'm doing it over here, because over here I could actually bring them onto the screen. See, this is what I'm saying. He says I'm actually streaming at a time that I can watch. Everybody's saying hi to each other, saying evening. What is this? 7/8? No, that not 78 millimeters too much, but 76, because I wanted to do the 73, and I already gave a millimeter of tolerance on the inside for like the expansion of the plastic itself. When you do it on the 3D printer, this should fit nice and snug. 72 plus 6. Yeah, that's true. That's But I changed it from 72 because what I had done was 69 was the number, and I had added 3, but that would have only been a wall to one side, which is why I had jumped to the number 72. And then I was like, wait, if it's 72 and I do the walls and I'm taking 6 millimeters off, that's well under the 68 point. So it wouldn't have fit. So I had to catch my error, but thank you for keeping me on point just the same. It wouldn't have hurt even at 60. It wouldn't even have hurt at 78, right? But I want it to be like nice and snug just to keep it part of the same aesthetic and design. So let's go back to CAD now that we got the numbers. And okay, now that we're here, we're designing on it. I'm going to hit right click on my mouse. That's going to take me out of that external geometry tool. And right here on the other tools, I'm going to now go back to the rectangle tool, right? And the first one I'm going to start with is at the bottom. I'm going to go here to the first datum point. And I know that it's 76 across, right? So 76 is the value that I'm going to add. And then I'm gonna add 3 as the other side, and now I just created a little sketch of a 3 millimeter border at the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is the same over here. Let me see from the top. What is this? 97 millimeters. Okay, so 97 millimeters, but it's asking me for the wide number first, so 3 millimeters thick, and now 97. Yep, which equals to 100. We created another green box, and we're going to do this the same on this corner right over here. So we're going to go 3 and then 97. Bam. So now we got 3 green boxes, but they are separate. We could keep them separate, but to keep everything nice and tight, there is this tool right here. Let me see. It's called Trim Edge tool, right? And we're going to be able to come right in here, and we're just going to be able to click this a couple of times. Oh, that was not the right one. Let's go back. Z. There we go. It even gave me the error at the bottom. Hello. All right. Let's scoot to the other side and show you a little bit better what this tool does. It cuts out the certain area. So between those two datum points, we're going to cut that out, and then we're going to cut that out again. Bam. And you see, and now it just flows, and we created just one large box, right? In kind of that U shape. And everything's nice and tight together. And now we can hit close, and you can see that that's illustrated on this box. And what we're going to do is that we're going to build upon it just the same way. So we're going to use the same exact technique, and we're going to pad this new sketch. And we're going to go here to the pad tool. We're going to pad, and it's going to add 10 millimeters. But let's see exactly how thick our design is. The thickness of this drive is 12.3. So I want to give it some clearance, 12.5. In this case, let's do the full 13, just in case. So we're going to do 13 millimeters, and that's going to be the size of the pad. So we're just going to hit up arrow 3 more times. And now we created a 13 millimeter pad that's just stacked upon that like flat plane that we just created. All right. We're just able to move this around, you see? and that's where this is going to sit. All right. What would be the next step that I would take? Let's see. Okay, we're gonna add now the front to it, right? The front, just to show you just the same. Over here with the calipers, right? Over here I have 3mm walls. On the back, 3mm, but the front doesn't necessarily need to be that thick. So I made those 2mm. So we're just gonna add a pad of 2mm to enclose everything. So if we're looking at it in CAD, right, we have all the internals, but we just need this front face so that we can throw that drive and let it sit in there nice and neat. Okay. So that we're here, right? Okay, I'm gonna show you a trick that I use for the design as well, because it has to do with that external geometry tool, right? The one that gives you the datum points. Okay, so I want to create a face to cover it all, so I need to find a flat plane to be able to highlight and sketch upon. So what I have to do is I have to go into this area right here, because that's where I want to build upon. And I'm going to select that, and it highlights it. You can see it in green, right? And I get the same tools, and I'm going to create a sketch. And now we're building on this very thin little wall that I've created. I could change the from orthographic to perspective view, right? And maybe that'll give you a little bit more better perspective, right? And to show you exactly what it is. So we're working on just that wall, as you can see, on that thin wall, but in 3D space, that's all you need. You just basically need the anchor points. Okay, so let's go back to the front, and we're gonna select the geometry tool. So now what I want to do is select the external geometries. We got left, right, bottom. And when it comes to the top, now we have a bunch of little geometries. It's better to show you in the orthographic, right? If I were to click here, you see it's not giving me the full line across. So I could use these anchor points here, which would just be fine. But the trick that I wanted to show you is this. I'm going to go ahead and come here, right? And when I want that full line, because depending on the designer, how I need to be able to see it, I can just flip the design on its back. And I can select the back line. Right? And it's still gonna show up, you see, like hovering in air, like into that free space, because everything is sketched on the plane where I started. These are just like datum points. It's just ways for you to anchor your lines and do everything. So that's just something that I wanted to show you. Now that I'm gonna close it. Oh, actually, no. Let me go back into it. Sorry. It's front facing again. I'm gonna go back to the perspective view so that you can see kind of more or less what I'm talking about. Is just like floating in thin air, but we're just gonna sketch upon it. So go back, right back to the same rectangle tool, select that corner, and then just select the bottom corner over here. Bam. And it gives us the perfect size box, which is the same original size, which is the 100 by 76, right? Now that that's there, we can just hit close, and we're gonna once again hit the same exact tool, the pad. So we're gonna select the pad, and now because I don't want it 3mm thick, I only want the pad to be 2mm. Hit the number 2, hit enter, and that's exactly what we get. So now, as you can see from the top view, this top wall here, you got 3 sides that are 3mm and 1 side that's 2mm, and that's the front side. And it's a just, it's a cubby, right, for the hard drive. Now, time to start giving it some of the style, which is is just a little bit of aesthetics and used with the simplest tools that we have right here in FreeCAD. Okay. What I am going to do is that I recognize that, just once again, a little bit of math. I have 76 millimeters across. That's the design that I ended up with, right? And to divide that into thirds, because I want to do a cutout, right? The next step that I'm doing here is the cutout of the center, just like I have here. This one, I designed it that we can read the SanDisk. This one looks just the same way. I don't know the exact size of the logo because that's what I used for these hard drives. But because I don't have the drive and I'm just doing this on request, I'm gonna go by kind of like averages. So basically, the cutout in the center was basically a third of this. So that's where I'm gonna fall into. And 76 would actually be 25, right? Oh, let me speak out the entire thought. 76 divided by 3 into thirds will roughly be 25.33. So just to kind of skew the numbers and not deal with so many fractions when it comes to this, um, if we do 24 and 24, that should be like a 22 millimeter gap, right? I'm psyching myself out here with the fractions. Yeah, because it would be 25. Okay, let's sketch. I'm gonna get some numbers using the same geometry tool. Let's go to it. Okay, so I'm gonna sketch the cutout and let's get to that. I'm gonna go ahead, create a new sketch, and once again, select the geometry for the datum point. It's just something that I just got into the habit of doing, even if necessarily don't always use all of them, just in case. I always do that. Okay, right here, we're gonna select the line tool, right? And I'm just using this as a reference. So 76, half of that is 38. Okay, so let's just do this. What would be the difference? If I have 76 and I take away 26, oh, that would be 25, right? Yeah, I'm psyching myself out, like trying to do all of this stuff. Yeah. Okay, so 25. Perfect. All right. I created a line at 25. I used the first datum point, right? And now I'm able to put this at whichever angle. If I had a specific angle, as you can see, we could always punch in those values, which is why I have a lot of fun with the CAD software. But this case is going to be value 0 because we're going to use that same line. Line turns green. That's all we need because we basically just need this datum point right here. There's something that we could do, but I just used the line because I needed it for measurement, right? Measure twice, cut once. Okay, and because of it, I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom line over here, right? Going to select that datum point. We're going to hit 25, click, right? And now it goes to 180 degrees because it's the opposite of the 0 degrees. And as you can see, it's kind of like on either side, yin and yang. Why are we doing this? Because we're doing a cutout of a rectangle. So we just need the datum points. And just like we use corner to corner, we're just creating the two corners that we need. We're going to click on the rectangle tool again, We're going to select this one. As you can see, it just goes into this little X. That's where you can see that it's like locked in. We're going to select it, and then we're going to select the bottom over here. This should be 26 millimeters across. That was the mathematics that I need. And 100 millimeters down. We're going to hit select, and now we have that box in the center. Now, if I were to just close this window here, right, you'll see that we have these extra lines that aren't fully constrained. They're not fully closed. If I were to try to now hit a pocket, which is a cut out of the design, instead of adding to it, every pad we were adding to it, the pocket is cutting chunks out of your design. We're gonna hit an error. See, the whole thing just turns, it just disappears, and you're like, what's going on? And this is just part of the CAD process. So if you're new to this, just like I was, you have to understand these constraints. So you get in the error messages here across the bottom. It says pocket wire was not closed 2 times, and those 2 times were those 2 lines that we left there that weren't constrained. They weren't a closed design. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit cancel, and it's going to bring us right back. We're going to click back into the sketch itself, right? Because we can't leave those unclosed wire designs. So we're going to select them themselves, right? And you can see they get highlighted over here, and we're just going to hit delete. That's it. And we're going to do the same for the bottom here, and we're going to hit delete. And now we just left with the one box in the center as the wire design, and that's what's going to be closed. That's it. And now we're going to hit close on here, and you can see we have a green box. And now when we go to use the same tool, the pocket tool, which is creating like the hole in the sketch, pocket that, and you can see we have no errors, and we have the first cutout of the design. But we have the ability to make the pocket deeper or more shallow with the values that we add here. So I want to cut it out all the way to the bottom, but I also want it to be flush because I believe this is a 0.5 design, right? We're going to find out in a second. Okay, so we're at 10 millimeters, 12, 13, 14, 15 millimeters, exactly. Okay, so we're flush. And now, as you can see, at 15 millimeters, if I go 16 millimeters, it's going to make an indent into the back side of it because we're just going a little bit too far. So that's way too far. And that's why sometimes if you have a 0.5 design, like 15.5, you might have to add that into the cutout just so you can get something flush, because if not, you'll still get like a 0.5 millimeter bump. Okay, so that's the design there, right? Click OK. As you can see, it's starting to come, starting to look like this, not too far off from it, right? Now we're going to go to the insides, right? The inside of this, and this is where I actually went to the previous design for reference. So the first one, this one here, the completed design, right? I was like, what were the dimensions of the curves on the inside, right? And that's what I just wanted to replicate and use this as a reference to. So I came over to the history basically of this design and checked out the fillet, and this one, you see, this is what we're looking for, this interior cut. And this fillet, I click on it and it tells me it's 15 millimeters. Okay, so we'll write that down. And then further in the design, let's check this one out. Okay, perfect. The outside fillet is 17 millimeters. Okay, so now that we have that information of the previous, that's basically all I needed that one for. Yeah, I would think. Yep. All right. We're still under an hour here. All right, so let's close this out. Let's finish strong. All right, because now all we're doing is just using another 17 millimeters. Oh, let's cancel that. That's from the previous design. That I'm not even gonna explain that. We're just gonna continue. Okay. What I can do is I can close this out completely. No, we don't need to save that at all. So now we just close that other design that I was using for reference. I wrote that information down and we're back to this sketch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look on the inside, right? Like we're looking on the inside of the part and I'm just going to highlight that little corner over there. One thing that I did on that previous design is that I did each corner by itself. Now I've learned better and now I'm going to hit command. Oh, I'm going to hit command. We have that one highlighted there. I'm going to go to the other side, hit command and highlight the other one because we want to mimic the fillet that we're going to add to it. And that's right here. So the fillet, which is basically just a curving of the corners, we're going to click that and it's telling us what size we want. It starts at 1 millimeter, but we want the interior one to be at 15. So we'll just type in that value. And now that we have the 15 millimeter fillet. And what that does is that it ensures the 3 millimeter wall thickness all the way around, because the difference between the 15 on the inside and the 17 on the outside, which we're going to do now, will keep the style and the interior right on point. Okay. So now let's zoom out a bit, right? We have the fillets on both of the insides. Now we're going to go to the bottom and we're going to select the outside corners as the same, hit command, select the other one, and we're going to fillet these from 1 millimeter to 17. And just to give you a better illustration, I'm going to do the up arrow, right? So that you can see it like growing on the part itself. So you start at 1 millimeter, right? Until you work all the way to 17. And now you have the rounded corners. And now the inside matches the outside. Bam. We're going to hit OK. And now to complete that design the same way, we're going to come zoom. Oh, let me make sure I can show you that, right? Zoom all the way in there. We're going to select this line just on the inside of that. We're going to flip the design, zoom in and select that one as well. So we have the inside of both of those, and we're going to hit the fillet once again, and we're going to just start building that out. I think 15 millimeters is what's going to look nice. Yep, I'm going to go with that. I don't think 17 would make. Let me see here. We're going to go with 17. It matches the bottom radius, which is exactly what I did. So 17 there on the outside, 17 on the inside here. We're going to hit OK. And that's almost done. The only thing that we have left to do is add the hooks for the CITYSGAW board. Now, we're going to flip it on its back because that's where we're going to add the design, right? And we're going to select the plane of the back side and we're going to create a sketch there just the same way. Let me see if you guys. Gretchen says, when in doubt, the rule of thirds is usually a safe bet. That's funny. He says, I imagine AI can help with a lot of the calculations. That's very funny because a calculator could help me with the calculations. I just wanted to use my brain with the math. Like, I was like, wait, I got this. Like, all I need is a piece of paper and my handy calipers, and we're going to get this. Okay. Because the design is so much bigger, right? Or I guess wider, I'm able to add an extra hook. So what I'm gonna do, instead of just adding 2 hooks, I'm gonna add 3, and I'm gonna center them. So that's what I'm gonna do with the design. So let me lubricate the vocals. All right. Okay, so we're on the back side to sketch it. As you can see, the word rear is upside down because once you're on the back side, it does give you like an upside down. I like to keep everything upright so that if we were like in perspective view, right, everything would be in correct perspective, right? We're dealing with the back side rear of this. And once again, we're going to do the external geometry just so that we have anchor points. And now you're going to see why these anchor points and these external geometries really come into play when it comes to the design, right? Because we're going to use them to center things and, like we're saying, just to make things easier when creating parts here. All right, so okay, first set of the design is I already have a lot of these numbers because I've made so many of these CATISGAW hooks that I already have like the numbers in my head that they're 13 millimeters, how thick, so on and so forth. But you'll see how I designed them. And let's just go because I want to finish within the hour. I just, at least the part design part. All right. Let's zoom in here. And we got a song that's definitely jamming. Oh, let's use it to our advantage. Okay. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a space. The first hook, I don't want it on the edge. I want it to be like recessed, right? So what I can do is just use this as a reference and be like, how far down did I actually make this design? And I come here and it's telling me 12 and a half. So let's go ahead and do that once again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a line 12.5, right? And then it's going to ask me the angle. Because we're upside down, heading down would be 90, which would usually be up, but we'll just go with it. Hit 90, and we created a part. The line. The line, as you can see, is in orange. It's not happy because happy means green. Green means go, right? Orange is already like slow down, buddy. And red will be getting all the X's, which I forgot to X out at the bottom. I left those on there. My bad, guys. Okay, so now that we have this line, what I want to do is that I want to put it in the correct place because I'm just using it as a 12.5 millimeter spacer off of the top. So I'm going to attach it to the top. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a step back and it turns white. Then I'm going to get out of the external geometry tool, just click out of it, right? Because what I'm going to do is just highlight this little corner. As you can see, I did not highlight the entire line. I just highlighted that corner and it selected it here at the bottom. And now I'm going to select the external geometry. So these two are highlighted. Now what I can do is I can do the constraints, which is this tool right over here, right? Constraint. But as you can see, it also says hit the letter S, which is what I've already been accustomed to. So I just hit the letter S on the keyboard, and now that little line is green. It's a happy little guy, and is giving me the point of where I'm going to start my design. So I'm going to continue to work on this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my first little box, which is going to be part of the actual design that I'm going to leave here. That is just like a marker. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do 4.5 because that's how thick I want this. And then 5 millimeters down. Bam. Now that I have that box and that size, I'm going to now select this, select that, and once again hit the S tool, and they constrain to each other, and now everything is symmetrical and placed correctly. Okay, but from this point here, right? Yes, sure. Did I do that correctly? I'm double checking myself right now, just in case. Let me see here. No, from here. Okay, so I was right. All right, I was checking myself out. I wasn't sure, and just to explain, I wasn't sure where I was supposed to link the the next line from here or from up here, but it is from up here. So from this line here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add another line straight down 20 millimeters. And we're going to hit 90 again. Boop. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a line 20 millimeters out to each other location as well. So once again, 20 millimeters. Bam. And we'll do the 180. And from here, 20 millimeters. And we'll do the 0. Boop. So that's the design that we have. And this is the other thing that we can do. We just need a datum point. So I'm just using these lines to mark exactly where I want to create the next set of boxes, which is where the hooks are going to be protruding from the back. So what I can do is I can select this tool right here, which is just the datum points, right? Create a point. And now I'm just going to create the points that I need. So we're just going to create that point, and that was it. Now I can go back and I can click this whole line, and we're just going to delete it, delete it, delete it, and even grab the top line and delete it. And now we just have that box with these two datum points. Now I'll be able to create this box over here and create the same one, 4.5 by 5. What's it? See, this is what I'm thinking. Yeah, by 5. Right? And now I'll be able to select this, select that datum point, and once again, hit the S. Oh, I did that incorrectly. Let me go backwards. I believe we have to do it in order. We have to collect that line first, then this one, then hit S. And no, that didn't work either. Okay, then you know what? Let me just... I'm going to double back. I'm going to make another line, but we're going to work it from this point. We're going to go 5 millimeters up. Negative 90. Just leave that there. Oh, I know what happened again. I gotta delete these datum points. Okay, it has selected the datum point and not the box itself. Once again, let's go S. I feel like it moved. It did. Okay, you know what? It opened it up. What is happening? You know what? I'm backing up. Okay. Happy green lines. We're back to happy green lines. I'm gonna build the boxes over here. Let's see. 4.5. 5. Okay. Why did we lose the green? Okay, we're back to green. I'm fine with that. And nothing moved. 4.5 by 5. Hit that. Once again, click here, click that there. They're both selected. Hit the S. Now the constraint. Perfect. All right. We're going to delete that line. 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 Datum point delete. Datum point delete. So now we just have 3 happy green boxes, which is what we were trying to get to. And I missed my mark because it's 5:01 Eastern Standard Time, but we're close to the end. So we're going to hit close, and now we have those 3 boxes designed on the back of it. Once again, we're going to hit the most used tool here today, the pad, and it's going to give us 10 millimeters. The cool part is that 10 millimeters is exactly the distance that we need for this right here. So that's exactly how we're going to leave it. Actually, you know what? I'm looking at this right now. Like, that's more than 5. It is. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to hit cancel. So that's going to remove this. Let me see if we could just easily fix the sketch. Yep. We're going to click here, and instead of 5, we're going to do 6 millimeters. Okay. Hit close. Now that there's 6 millimeters, once again, we're going to hit the pad. 10 millimeters is exactly what we want. And that has to do with the thickness of the stud, and this is what's holding up the part. Okay. This is where it's going to get a little fun. We're going to have to kind of do the same thing twice, but let me show you, because now we need to build the hooks that go down. So, you know, what's going to be the face that we need to work on? These little sides. So we're going to go ahead and click that, and we're going to hit the sketch. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. FreeCAD just crashed. Is it gonna give a recovery? Yeah, let's start the recovery. Let's see. Oh, thank God. You know what? Let's do it right now. That was such an epic fail. I'm thinking about this whole live stream, and I forgot to give it even a file to save. So we got lucky. Because if you don't even name it, it's like, where is it even gonna put the file that is gonna try to recover? Whoa, we got lucky. Okay. Scatus stand 3800. All right, we saved it. That's there. Let me see what you guys are saying. Yeah, that was a close call. Even though, like, the hardest thing, to tell you the truth, is doing it on a live stream, because if I were to be doing it on my own, this would already be done. I would just be like, just completely focused. But doing it while entertaining is what makes it a little bit more difficult, but a whole lot more fun. I said, yep, that's a lesson I won't forget, says Gretchen. Mookie says it was a close call. Okay, so Paul had to head out. All right, so we're still here. We're still here. All right, let me continue. But I already explained everything, so now instead of explaining my steps, I'm just gonna do them. Right? And we basically established that it was 6 millimeters and not 5. Okay. So I'm just gonna breeze through this. This is another way that you can do it, right? You see that it gives the constraint symbol. We can start there, drop down, hit 12.5, hit OK, hit 90, and we got a green box. Here, we're going to just skip. Actually, you know what? Let me not get ahead of myself. Let me make the box 4.5 wide, 6 long. Select those two. Hit S for constraints. Now go back to the line tool. Hit down. We're gonna hit 20. Back to 90. Straight down. From here, we're gonna go 20 wide. 180. Sets that. Here. 20. 0. Set. Everything's green to go. Gonna make the next box 4.5 by 6. Dot, dot, constraint. It's again, new box 4.5 by 6. Select, constraint. And you can see how much faster it is when you're not explaining it, right? And also when you got your numbers correct after doing it 2 or 3 times. So, okay. And you know what? Let's just save that. Lesson learned. Okay. Now go back here to start deleting these lines that are not necessary. So we're just left with the boxes. Okay, so now we have the boxes. We hit close. That's the design there of those 3 boxes. We're gonna hit pad. So those are gonna protrude that way. And we're gonna leave them at 10. And this is what I was gonna say. We need to now come to the inside here, and we're gonna work on both of these at the same time, but it's the same plane field, or the same, yeah, plane, right? In the 3D field. So we're gonna create the sketch there, right? What did that go red? Okay, and we're gonna go back to the geometry constraints, and we're gonna select those corners because that's what we're gonna build off of, right? This is 10 millimeters off of the wall, and we're gonna use half of that. So we're gonna create a 5 millimeter post, so it's gonna be 4.5 by 5, and we're just gonna use those as anchor points. And that we're gonna start here, and that's gonna be 4.5 by 5. Right, perfect little box, and we're gonna repeat it on this side. 4.5 by 5. Hit that, and now we're gonna hit close, and now we have 6. We're just gonna add another 6 millimeter pad. Pad is gonna go to 10, but we're gonna bring that back to 6, and we're gonna hit OK. And now we have our Roblox hooks. But in all sincerity, if you can see the design, they're rounded off. Those won't fit, but we'll fix that in a bit. We're going to repeat exactly what we just did here on this last hook here. So we're going to create the design. Geometry. Box. Or rectangle tool. 4.5. 5. We have a green box. We hit OK. We hit pad. We give it 6 millimeters. It's perfect size. And now we have the 3 that we need. Now we're going to use the fillet tool once again, and we're going to round everything off together. So let me show you exactly how I do it. Okay. We're going to select here as the first line, right? And then we're going to basically select all of the ones that we want to round off at the moment. So yeah, let me go ahead and do that. We're going to hit command, and we're going to select all of these external geometry lines. Because we want to round everything off. That's a good view of what it should look like. And now we're going to hit the fillet tool. And you can see it already started rounding things off. Oh, what happened? We got to 3 and it went back square. Well, 2 millimeters is not kind of round enough. And if 3 is too much, is because we've already exceeded the limits, meaning the rounded edges are crossing over each other. So we're going to go into the 2.5, right? And that's still not there because they're still clashing. But if I know that that's what I need, because we created a 5 millimeter, right? 4.5. Oh, I'm messing up here. Yes, because what it's actually doing, it's clashing. Oh yeah. It's 6 millimeters. So no, not even the 6 millimeters, because it's not the height. It's actually the width. It's 4.5 how thick they are. So we need to cut that in half. And 4.5 is 2.25. And because that's too much, it will be like 2.2. So that's exactly the value that we need to put. 2.2 millimeters. No, not 22. 2.2. Bam. And the reason why is because now look, you see the edges come all the way around and they get as close as possible to making a rounded edge. See? Because it's not the height, it's actually the roundness of this part right here. So that was the correct value, 2.2. And we hit OK and we're good to go. And now we've created the hooks there and that's all set. I actually want to add something else, right? Also part of the fillet. I'm going to select this outside geometries. What happened to the music? I have it on loop, don't I? Okay, I got those selected. We're gonna hit fillet, and it's just gonna add. You see, like a little bit extra. Can we add 2? Perfect. And it's just gonna add like a little more roundness to the inside, so it can just fit that much more like easily when you go to like hook it onto the board. Hit OK, and we're done, guys. This is officially finito and done. 15 minutes past what I wanted to do, but this is the completed special request part. And now we can save it. And what I'm going to do, right, is we're going to select the body within FreeCAD, right, which highlights the entire part and all the things that we've done to it. And then we're going to hit Command E for exports, and it's going to give us the ability to export it. So SCADIS SanDisk 3800 body, right? And we're going to name it SSD holder. There we go. And now we hit save. Bam. And not only did we save it as a file that we created in FreeCAD, but we also made it a STL, which I'll be able to now upload to Maker World and link to that person, Mr. 79971, Jan 791, right? Did I get that right? I think I wrote it down. Nope. That was off the dome. Okay, so yeah, we're done. Like that's a completed part. And this is something, as you can see, like I just like to hop on and make parts, and we'll be able to throw this onto the printer. And you know what? Let me show you that part as well, just to give you the full satisfaction. We won't print it because I don't need it, but I will show you exactly what it would take to actually do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open my FreeCAD file. Let me switch the screen share. Hold on one second. No, not primary, secondary display. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm showing you everything on my screen over here, which, oops. There we go. Okay. It's named SCADIS and it's okay, SanDisk. SCADIS. SCADIS. SanDisk. SSD holder. No, it's the 3800. Did it put it over here? Oh yeah, it did. I put it in my downloads. Okay. That's where it is, right? SCADIS SanDisk 3800 holder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit space, which is just, you know, like showing you. And there we go. That is the part in 3D space. So this is the way that any 3D modeler would see it. And we could take this part right here, right? This file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it right over to my Bamboo Studio program. So I'm just literally highlighting it and just dropping it on top of my Bamboo, and Bamboo is opening up here. Perfection. And we have the part there in place, as you can see. And this was the importance that I had mentioned to you of starting on that plane, on that field, because if we had started on the floor basically, then this part would be like installed into everyone's slicer in that manner. I want it to be upright like this because this is the way that it needs to print for best functionality. That's it. So if we were to go to slice this right now over here in slice plate, what you would see is that is going to have an error saying some objects are floating and they need support, which are the hooks themselves. So we're going to go into the support area and we're going to enable supports. Tree supports is fine. And that's it. Now we can hit slice again and we're going to have a green check mark over here and telling us that the slice is okay. And just to give you a better illustration, because the black doesn't really show much, I'm going to change the color of the filament, so to speak. Hey, slice plate. It didn't change the color. There we go. We slice it, and you can see the supports that will get printed at the bottom, both on the sides of it and on the back, to support the printing of those hooks. And that would be it. And now we can throw this on here. It's basically telling us it'll take an hour and a half of printing time. It's going to use 40.48 grams in total. But the part itself is going to be 37 grams. So, you know, 40 with the extra 3 grams of the support material. And yeah. And now, like I said, this is completed. I can hit print and it'll be made in real life, right? It will be an actual thing that I can use just like I did with this. And that's the fun that I've had with 3D printing and design. And it's just so much fun because there's countless things around me that I've done unconsciously of just like sitting here doing something else and just create a part on FreeCAD and have it printing before dinner's ready, and just having a lot of fun. So I did not make my goal of an hour, but I think that this was still just a lot of fun. And yeah, and that's it. Let me see what you guys are saying before I head out. Gretchen asks, does FreeCAD have a auto save feature? No, it doesn't. No, that's why it's free. It says cardinal rules of software development: thou shall not create a code that deletes users' data. That's very true. That's funny. It says get on those bamboo Black Friday deals. The AMS is cheap, cheap. Yeah, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll pick one up later because right now, in all sincerity, I wouldn't want an AMS with the systems or the printers that I currently have. And it's no knock on them. It's just I don't want to deal with the excess poop. Like I've even shut down a lot of the poop doing features because I'd rather it like print a couple of like lines. So for example, right here in the Bamboo Studio, right? Instead of having it purging a bunch of extra poop waste, what I do is that to make sure that like it's flowing correctly for the print to be done correctly, and to not like waste that material and make sure that it's adhering to the bed correctly. My favorite thing to do is I go over here to the others tab and I add skirt loops, and I add about 4 of them, right? And now it's going to ask me to reslice, and what it does is that it's going to create these skirts that are going to loop the entire project. See? And with those 4 skirt loops, it's going to purge enough of the material to get things flowing correctly and make sure that it's adhering to the bed correctly. So usually within those 4 loops, if it's not sticking and it's just not adhering to the bed, you're going to see it right away, and you can cancel the print and not lose a lot of material, right? And it's just been something that's helped me save a lot of filament, but also more than anything, a lot of headaches. Because when I make sure that it prints correctly and that first layer is down good, the rest of the print is usually golden, especially with the Bamboo Lab printers. But that's why I said I'm not the biggest fan of all the extra poop and doing multicolor on these like A1s and A1 minis. I didn't get it because of that factor. Um, I would probably get an AMS with like the H2D one, is the one that has 2 nozzles, right? And it was just to make sure that it has 2 separate nozzles or more, depending on which model, to really do color changing so that there's not a lot of excess poop and waste when it comes to the prints, just because it's one of the biggest things that I dislike. I deal with it because it's just way too much fun. Like I told everyone, if you're looking to like not waste plastic and doing 3D printing, don't get into it because there's gonna be a lot of failed prints and it's just plastic that you're gonna have to throw away because it was a mistake that was done. You missed a tolerance, right? If I would have printed 72 millimeters instead of 76, this would have all been wasted. And if I would have uploaded that print, all of that would have been wasted on anyone who would have used that print in the future as well. So um that's why there's a satisfaction level to have people say like this printed perfectly, the design like this, thank you so much, because there's a lot of R&D when it comes to this. And once you've done enough of it, then you have enough like skills to kind of know what tolerances, how the materials are going to expand a little bit more than you want, and to try to cover all of your bases, because you don't really know which machine somebody's going to take your design and print it on. Is where I, build in that little like leniency to have it snug but not super super tight tolerance, where if you miss by half a millimeter, then it no longer fits. So that's exactly where we're at. But guys, this was a lot of fun. Let me know what you think, what you thought of this. If you liked it, right, make sure to hit the like button, because that's the number one way. If you have a design idea or something that you might want to get modified, make sure you just leave it in a comment down below, because this could be something that I start doing more of if you guys like it. So that's the whole point. I took my time here on Sundays, the time that I would normally do this, and now I shared it with you. Let me know what you think. And that's that. So let me make sure I got all the chats before we head out. Yeah, you see, that's exactly what I was saying. The H2D looks cool, but it looks like there's a tool changer version. Exactly. And that one is like super cool. So it just depends, and I'm in no rush. Right now I have plenty of printers to keep me, like tinkering. And like if I need something in a different color, I just put it on a different printer right now, which is a lot easier so that I don't have to be changing all of the things at once. But if I want multicolor on a single print, which could be coming in the future, well, that's what I'd be looking into, either like a tool changer, like a head changer, or filament changer, dual headed nozzle, something like that. Because there's actually a new type of filament that Polychroma has been making. Is called COPE, or COPE, right? It's C lowercase o p e, for the properties of whatever that it is, but it doesn't play well or basically adhere well with PLA. So if you had a dual tool changer, you can create like super tight tolerances for support material, but that they would never actually adhere to each other because there's just like oil and vinegar, and that's like super interesting. So to be able to have a dual nozzle, for not really multicolor, but for different materials to add as support materials that aren't going to adhere to your print, so that it can have like the smoothest finish possible, is the things that I'm like looking into, especially with my rig junkie designs. But another one that I did recently is my first print in place design, which is um, my universal game controller holder that I have over here for my game controllers for the SCATYS board. You can find that on Maker World as well. As soon as I'm done here, I'll make sure that that link is in the description, so that if you're interested, so that you can see my first print in place, which is just actually, you know what? I can show you once again before we go. I go back to the share screen, right? Yep, in the Bamboo Labs. I can show you what it looks like. I'm gonna go back to the home, and this is it right here. Yeah, let's save that. And that's exactly what we're talking about. As you can see, it's got the little SCATYS hook, right? The little nubbin at the bottom, and it's got these hinge arms. So it prints in place, meaning it prints all in one design, right? No supports, nothing else needed. And once it's completely done, you're able to take it off the printer and use it right away, and just bend the arms to the size of your controller. And let me show you. Just gonna pull it off. And this is what you're ended up with, right? You have your print in place design that it prints flat, but then you fold the arms in, and everything that's needed for the print to work is in here. So there's plastic all throughout the inside to make sure that it supports it enough. And the universal design is that it doesn't matter what type of controller that you have, no matter how thin or wide the support is, you'll be able to just hook it on there and add it to your SCATYS board. And I threw all my different PlayStations. So I have the PlayStation 3, 4, and 5 controllers, and then I have the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, and another steel design, which is like an Xbox style, but it's um it's an iOS controller for like Apple iPads and things like that. So I'll make sure to leave that link for that and everything else. But I've been putting some of the designs on Maker World just the same way. So if you want to download them for free, that's where you can find them. And if you're going to create any of my designs, I'm also going to be leaving links to the supporting pieces. So like my Rig Junkie camera cage is set up there, but it has the Amazon links to all the parts that you would need to finalize the complete kit. So if you could use those links, that helps me out directly, and it's highly appreciated. No extra cost to you, but it definitely does help me out. And at the same time, leave me a like and a thumbs up right here. And if you go download the designs, make sure that you do the same for my designs on Maker World. And that's it. An hour and a half, and I'm gonna call it here. Thank you all for hanging out here with me. What does that say? Oh, he's telling me like the is that foamy TPU? He just put it the Soraya Tech TPU is great filament too. There's this new one that depending on the temperature that you extract it at, it depends the properties that you get out of it. And I was just like, this is crazy. So the more you up the temperature, the more expansion you get. And they're starting to use this to make the the foam shoes, right? Like actual footwear, because it's a TPU that's flexible, but then it foams up. I don't know if that's exactly the same one that you're talking about, but it was just so cool. Like that foaming one, I was like, man, like you can do so much. Think about it, like plantar fasciitis, you can start creating your own insoles that are like molded to your feet, so that they're specifically for you. Like you can maybe get a doctor's prescription, but then 3D print them at home, so you don't have to wait weeks for them to be made. And in case you lose them or you have variety of different pairs, instead of switching them out, you could just print all the insoles for all your shoes and just have them set there. So many different things. And then let's not even start thinking about, because you could add so many different articles to the mix, right? Like I have a wood filament, right, that has like wood flour, right, in it, like just this fine grained wood. Like imagine if we do that with like Dr. Scholl's like anti odor or anti like microbic materials, but just add it to the foam, so that you have like a Dr. Scholl's, pediatric, is that how you say? No, that's the children, but like a Dr. Scholl's insole with like odor removing properties, but also gives you like the correct, like support for your feet. Like possibilities are endless, and 3D printing is taking over the world. That's just the way that I see it, and I'm here for it because I'm just having so much fun with it. This is like Legos for adults, and like I said, if you enjoyed this and you're having fun with it, let me know so that I can make more of these for you, because you're the ones who are watching it and you're the ones who make me have so much fun doing all of this stuff. So thank you, Jeremy and Gretchen and Paul, even though he left because he couldn't hang out. Mookie, who else was hanging out over here? I think that was it, right? Doc, he already headed out for the Raiders game. But yeah, and all of you who are going to watch this on the replay, so let me know, and I will see all of you next time. And until then, talk to you. This is where I finish the show.